Over a month ago, I made a video covering random Steam keys from Fanatical. Within that pack, I received a game known as Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the Earth. I played it for a bit, made some comments most people didn't like, and promised to, at some point, make it its own video. Not only because I was interested, but also because of the game and studio's turbulent history. Today, I'd like to bring you the story of how this one game single-handedly caused the bankruptcy of an entire video game studio. I'd also like to dive deep into the game to show off the results of development hell, how passion could just not beat out the looming threat of financial difficulties. The entire story dates back to the 9th of June 1999. A new post on the Lovecraft forums appeared by Headfirst Productions' Andrew Brazier. The post shared the following: as discussed here before, there are a few mythos-inspired computer games around. What I want to know is, if a new game were to be made completely based on the Cthulhu's mythos, what sort of game would you like to see? All comments and suggestions appreciated. Of course, many were more than willing to share their thoughts and ideas, many of which would actually be seen within the final product. Armed with a multitude of ideas, Headfirst began securing the rights to the game from Chaosium in the year 2000. If you're wondering why they had to secure the rights to a story which was already in the public domain, it's because they borrowed a good amount of source material from Chaosium's original telling. Within this forum, we also get to see that the initial idea for the game was that of a first-person genre which incorporated a multiplayer framework. Later ideas would include the ability to choose between 4 different detectives, with each aiding in one investigation or carrying out their own. There were talks of non-linear gameplay, meaning that the game would play out differently depending on how you went about your story. Even talks of a deathmatch game mode made their way into the mix. We could already see that visions for this game were massive, probably much more than an indie team would be able to manage at the time. The initial release date was set for Q3 2001. However, once E3 rolled around that same year, we learned that the game was only about 70% complete and had to be delayed to the first quarter of 2002. When E3 2002 rolled around, we find out that the game was now set to release in Q3. However, even that would be delayed all the way to the end of 2003. There were 2 main causes for these delays, one having to do with the game's engine. They originally planned to create Call of Cthulhu on the same NetImmerse engine they used to create Simon the Sorcerer. However, it became clear to them that the engine would not be able to accomplish what they set out to achieve. They would then make the risky decision to create their own game engine in the midst of development. Switching engines can be a very big gamble, let alone creating one from scratch. It means having to transfer everything you've already created on one engine to the other, which usually can't be done easily. This would end up forcing the developers to basically recreate everything from the ground up, wasting so much precious development time and demoralizing the team further. The second reason had to do with publishing. The original publishers, Fish Tank Interactive, would be acquired by Joewood Productions, who gave no shits about the game. This led to what Headfirst refers to as a breach of contract, and their partnership would swiftly come to an end, leaving them without a publisher to help fund and promote their game. They obviously could have gone the self-publishing route, but they were already tossing so much money into development that it would be near impossible. Fortunately for them, they quickly found themselves in the hands of Bethesda Softworks and 2K Games, with a prototype finally ready to be shown at E3 2003. However, with the new partnership also came a change of focus. The original game was being built up for the PC. However, Bethesda wanted to put an emphasis on an Xbox release, with the PS2 release being cancelled altogether. The biggest problem with this came with the fact that at the time, the Xbox was extremely limited compared to a modern PC, meaning they would have much less freedom to make the changes and additions they felt were necessary. This would not only cause the developers to cut many corners and find ways to not take up valuable space, but would also lead to another delay. The final set release date would be 2005 for Xbox, with the PC release just barely making its way in 2006. Now, shall we look at what 6 years of blood, sweat, and development hell leads to? Before we begin though, I'd like to mention a couple of things. First, I'll be going over the entire game and its story, so here's your spoiler warning. Second, like I said earlier, the game is a mess. Many fans have taken it upon themselves to patch many of the game's countless bugs. However, I decided to just go in raw in order to get the intended experience. Third, the first couple of minutes isn't fully my gameplay because I lost the footage like an idiot. The gameplay belongs to Ale Mortis, but it's not that big of a deal since not much happens at the start gameplay wise. Also, the lead voice actor, Milton Lawrence, voiced the character in Duel Masters. Just thought that was kind of interesting.
I summon La, Purification Enforcer.
We start off in Arkham Asylum 1922. We get an up-close shot of a man losing his sanity. The doctor performs his routine check on the patient, only to see that the man is attempting to take his own life. As the pain of suffocation settles in, the journal in his hand falls to the ground and opens to a page that reads, "I now walk in the shadows between, and it is there where I have finally glimpsed upon what lives in the dark corners of the earth." We cut back to 6 years prior as our protagonist, police detective Jack Walters, is reading that same journal, though it is very clear that the handwriting isn't nearly as disturbed. Jack is called to a rundown mansion as the owner, Victor Holt, refuses to speak with anyone besides him. We start seeing visions of whoever is inside peeking out to see if anyone is approaching. Something I didn't find out until much later was that the skybox here is actually incorrect. Apparently it's meant to be much darker, as this would be taking place on a dark, stormy night. Not only that, but we can also see that we don't have an option to select our character as originally intended. We're simply thrown into the game as Jack Walters. The cops take us closer to investigate, only for the cult to open fire. It becomes very clear that they began aiming for anybody except us, presumably to lure us inside alone. Once in, we stumble upon an indoor church with a note left on the pedestal. As I continue to translate the narcotic fragments, I become more and more eager to contact my Yithian masters. Their intellect and knowledge surpass ours in ways impossible to comprehend. The Yithians were a race of powerful beings that came to Earth by transferring their consciousness with that of an old species. Their greatest enemy since arriving has been the flying polyps, with many wars being fought between them. I really wanted to add that the artist for this piece was inspired by this exact game, which is so fucking funny upon reading. This is literally how the Yithians won against the polyps though, I'm not even joking. This is important to keep note as we'll be seeing them later down the line. The Yithians also built an ancient city in Australia known as Nakotis, which is where it's said that the Great Library exists, containing priceless manuscripts of their history. Jumping back to the game, we continue exploring the house a bit further. In a room riddled with corpses, we find a diary that makes it clear this was all planned. Jack had been observed closely for the past 2 months. Also that he could end up in this very house at the same time they were to make contact with the Yithians. This theory is only reinforced by the still remaining cult members and rooms filled with a plethora of our photos and movements. This moment is used to introduce a core gameplay mechanic known as sanity. As we can hear, Jack's heart begins to race as his breathing becomes more frantic. He's beginning to feel distressed. If we don't take the time to grab a hold of ourselves, we'll go insane to the point of suicide and the game will end. According to the game's files, sanity regenerates at an extremely slow rate, to the point that I actually almost never cared about it throughout my entire gameplay. We enter a small library where we can hear moans coming from beneath us.
They seem quite literate.
In between the walls is a trap door. Emphasis on the word trap as this crashes your game instantly. Oh, whoa, 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 what was in there? A hidden room, be careful. Alright, what do we find? What? Why does the game keep crashing right there? Why? Fuck! From a distance and a stand up. Oh! The only workaround I was able to find was sitting completely still until the door opened all the way. But for all I know, I just got lucky. As we explore the basement, we stumble upon a medical room, again full of corpses, and what appears to be a torture chamber, with only the shell of a man strapped to a plate as the rest of his organs are being kept in a strange liquid, though that might just be due to the combination of the water and blood. Our curiosity gets the best of us and we accidentally power up the machine, ridding any remaining life from the man. We also overload the machine, allowing us to pick up this green crystal. We make our way further down only to find yet another strange contraption. By slapping the crystal into the same slot as before, we're able to power up the machine and release the race of Yithians as planned by the cult. We fall unconscious and that's the end of the prologue. Honestly, this entire sequence is pretty intriguing. Not only are we left wondering why this cult would be so inclined to off themselves for the sake of these beings, but we're also left wondering who we are. Why were they watching us? Why were they waiting for us? What purpose could we have truly served in all of this? We now jump back 6 years into the future and just 10 days before the suicide attempt, as Jack frantically writes down his recollection of events. He recalls his colleagues' confusion at his manner of speech on that fateful day. He was then immediately committed to Arkham Asylum and diagnosed with severe schizophrenia, but was soon released as he posed no threat. Although 6 years in real time has passed since the attack, Jack could only remember the past 5 months. He suspects that during that missing period in time, he must have been traveling and researching the occult and dark legends, even in languages he wasn't familiar with. The overwhelming feelings of paranoia and fear begin to take a heavy toll on his mind, only to be broken by a call reporting a missing person case. One Brian Burnham, a store manager of the First National Grocery Store in Innsmouth, has just recently gone missing after a suspected break-in. Since the local authorities quickly dismissed the case as an inside job perpetrated by Burnham, the man called Jack to help uncover the truth. I think it's worth mentioning that Jack is no longer a police detective, he is now a private investigator. Although he is initially reluctant to take the job, he decides it's better than being holed up in his office for hours on end. He would take the first and only bus to Innsmouth the very next day. On the ride over, Jack questions Innsmouth's lack of trade due to shutting itself off from the rest of the world, to which the driver replies,
Innsmouth has the means to look after alone.
Upon exiting the bus, we ask the driver about Brian Burnham, to which he has a double take before claiming not to know who that was. Either this was because he was hiding something, or because the animation department accidentally left that in. Speaking to Constable Elliot gives us a new name to remember, the Order. Jack asks what the Order is, but is left on red. All we know is that whoever they are, they tend to any ongoing affairs within the city. The first national grocery store is not too far from the town square. In fact, it's practically right next to the statue. However, there seems to be a guard patrolling the area, forcing us to sneak our way around him. Once inside, we can use the bookshelf to block the door and to give us time to snoop around. While examining the manager's office, we find an open safe with a bottle of bootleg rum and a wooden handle inside. By this point, the guard has realized someone found their way inside and is now using all of their strength to bust down the door. Right behind the counter is a trap door, which we can use the handle to open. However, the floor beneath us crumbles and we fall straight down as the guard shuts the hatch. In this cellar, we find Burnham's old diary. He depicts his disgust for Innsmouth and is determined to bust open old Waite's safe and escape to New York with his lover. Exploring further into the cell, we find another key and human remains. Upon exiting out the back, we have a little run-in with one Lucas Mackey. He introduces himself as a government factory inspector sent down to Innsmouth to check on the old Marsh refinery. Jack is understandably suspicious of Mackey, but doesn't have the time to question him. Once making our way out, we start seeing visions, as if we're looking over Innsmouth from the rooftops. One thing I don't understand is that Jack never says shit about these visions all throughout the game. Like, if I saw myself suddenly looking over Innsmouth like this, I'd be questioning everything. It's a minor detail that honestly doesn't matter, but it kind of takes me out of it every now and then. Moving over to the back of Innsmouth, we have a little run-in with a drunkie. Giving him the old bottle of rum gets him talking more about the town's history. He suspects that Burnham was killed as he was an outsider taking business from the Order of Dagon. He also recalls the time Captain Obed led those that were less fortunate into praying and worshipping better gods. However, many that followed him went missing, causing the rest of Innsmouth to arrest Obed and his followers. One night though, riots broke out on the streets as mounds of dead and dying corpses began swarming the town, leading to, of course, multiple deaths. Once morning came, everything had gone back to normal with just one exception. Captain Obed and his family were now in charge, with every remaining citizen told to dismiss any stranger that finds their way into town. He even claims to have found himself in even greater debt to his gods, forcing folks to take the oath of Dagon. Those that didn't obey, we can only assume they either ran away or were killed. He claims that old Waite is the man we're looking for, as he's already taken the third oath. He then gives us a key to the town's poorhouse. He gives us one last explanation that Obed had found an old tribe known as the Kanakis who worshipped undersea god with sacrifices. Before we're able to pry for more answers, he passes out. To be honest, I'm not one to like getting an entire exposition dump all at once from one character. However, remembering the development issues, I can only assume they didn't have much time to animate any cutscene in between all of this yapping. But at least now we understand a little more about the cult we saw earlier. Most, if not all of those members were those that were less fortunate. Those led to believe they'll prosper and live better lives if they devote themselves to these gods. What more do they have to lose anyways? Surely not their meaningless, poverty-ridden lives. I'm not saying people in poverty are meaningless, by the way. I'm just speaking in terms of story here. As we walk out of the alley, we have a run-in with a woman named Rebecca Lawrence. She tells us to seek out Ruth Billingham if we want to know more about Burnham's disappearance. She also introduces us to another of the game's mechanics, save points. This save point differs from the rest as it wards off nearby enemies. It might also regenerate your sanity faster, but I haven't been able to prove that. After seeing another vision from the rooftops yet again, we make our way into the town's poorhouse. As we walk down the halls, we get another vision, but this time whatever this is getting closer. He's literally... Oh! Who was that? Don't act like you didn't see him. Here's another mechanic that is kind of annoying. In order to climb down or up ladders, you have to be facing in that direction. However, as you can see here, you can sometimes have trouble going down due to the way the game treats ledges. Get too close to a ledge and the game tries to prevent you from falling off while also blurring your screen. Once we make it down and past this alley, we find ourselves at the Waite home. His daughter, Ramona Waite, answers the door and informs us that her father is away while her mother is locked in the attic. We ask for what reason, which is how we find out that her mother has basically gone mad. She invites Jack to wait for her father's return. However, our curiosity begins to get the best of us. We get another vision, this time clearly from the eyes of the mother above us. Does this mean the mother was the one following us all this time? Maybe. There is evidence to suggest that this is true, as right outside the house are bodies of murdered individuals. However, we also have to take into consideration that she has been locked up. We open the door and head up to the attic. We peek inside only to see We quickly run back down, only to see the sight of old Waite crying his eyes out, holding a dead Ramona in his arms. Upon speaking with Waite, we learn that Burnham did in fact stage the robbery, but he was unable to open the safe, let alone make it out of Innsmouth. He hands us a key and tells us that the safe's combination is in his diary upstairs. The cops then burst in to arrest Waite, seemingly knowing Ramona had been killed and claiming Waite as the murderer. Jack grabs the diary and runs out of the house, only to be stopped by Rebecca. He expresses his guilt before Rebecca introduces us to the healing mechanic. Healing is done by just pressing H, but I didn't realize that until much later. We're able to make our way into Waite's shop, only to stumble upon Ruth Billingham attempting to open the safe. She makes some vague threats due to her position in the order, but after explaining that Jack is an outsider, she instead gives him a picture of her and Burnham and hopes Jack can find him. Now, I'll be honest, trying to crack this safe was a pain in the ass. Waite's diary lists the combination as Ramona's birthday, which would have been 10 years ago from yesterday. However, I forgot what day was supposed to be, even though I had already skimmed right past it. Either way, once I finally figured out the safe's code, there was another problem. We all know clockwise basically means right and anti-clockwise means left. When the game says turn clockwise, what they actually mean is press right on the keyboard, not turn the dial clockwise. I genuinely thought my game was broken for the longest time because I never attempted to just input the code in the opposite direction. 1, 2. Why is it backwards?
That's it.
Oh my god, Thomas, you no fucking wonder you're a retail worker, my lord. In the safe is a manuscript titled The Book of Dagon. We pick this up and head over to the inn for a good night's rest. At the lobby, we overhear a conversation between Joe and the hotel receptionist. Although Joe also claims that Waite murdered his own daughter, the receptionist doesn't buy it, claiming that Waite wouldn't have the strength to inflict that kind of damage to her. To me, this moment shows that not everyone in Innsmouth is the same. I mean, yeah, Rebecca, Ruth, Ramona, and Waite all already proved that much, but even the most suspicious of people question what they're told. Though this idea isn't really explored, as the receptionist still follows orders: don't let the outsider leave the city. Despite eavesdropping, we're still forced to walk into our doom. As we speak to the receptionist, we get visions of the aftermath of a murder. We know it's the past as they step out to an empty lobby and hang a key right behind the desk. Going off the fact that they stepped out of the back room, we can assume that we're seeing the past actions of the receptionist. He's called out, which gives us ample time to grab the key and explore his office. We can see that the hatchet is still on the table while severed body parts lie throughout the room. We exit the office and follow the receptionist to our room. As he speaks to us, we get another vision, this time from the perspective of a lady being visually stabbed by them. Now that we know for certain the receptionist is much more than just that, who was this lady? Well, I'll just tell you right now, it never gets answered. It seems that the writers either forgot or didn't care enough to continue whatever subplot they had planned here. There is another possibility that this may be the remnants of one of the 4 branching storylines originally planned for the game. Speaking of story, I'm sure you've noticed that nothing so far has really been non-linear. We have a predetermined path down the storyline that we must take and are not allowed to deviate from. Anytime we try, either by going a different route or attempting a new strategy, we're just directed right back to said path. Obviously, this isn't all too bad, but it does make the gameplay feel a little boring at times. I'd be lying if I said I was having the time of my life at this point of the game. Once in our room, we bolt the door shut and head to sleep. We start getting dreams of the Yithians speaking to us as if we were their familiars, before cutting back to the receptionist selling us out. 2 men try forcing their way into our room as we attempt to find an escape. I just want to say that there is a reason games hold your hands nowadays. It's because of players like me. I bet. Shit. Fuck. Get out. Okay, I was not supposed to jump, I guess. Bruh. Where am I supposed to go? Where am I supposed to go? I don't get it. Oh, hey. What the fuck? Who's shooting at me? What the fuck was that?
This is taking too long. I've got to slow down.
No. I forgot to bolt the doors. Run. Aha. Fuck, I don't have a bolt. Oh my god. Ah. I missed. Jesus Christ, dude, this fucking game. I don't think I'm supposed to go here. Ah, stop. Don't you know who I am? Why is everything in slow motion? It's on 1 HP. Oh, no, I bled out. No, Jack, don't tell me, Jack, stop. Oh, Perfect. I had no idea you could heal. The learning process was sort of fun, I will admit that. But what wasn't fun was having to constantly restart from the beginning. Once making our way through the ventilation shaft, we find ourselves in the midst of a search. I just have to say again, you know why Final Fantasy had to paint those rocks yellow? Because players like me somehow missed the blatant hole right in front of them. Once we successfully escape, we stumble into an accidental death. No significance really, Jack just tells his friend to get over it and help him. The man above explains to us that the only way we'll be able to escape is through the sewers. However, horrors lie down there. Outside, we can see the entrance to the sewers is being guarded, forcing us to cause a distraction. What? Holy shit! I want to show you guys the amazing AI this game advertised. What are you guys fucking doing? You're outside! These guys are spawn camping. Spread out as they sit in the same spot. I'm going... Like, I know it's 2006 technology, but it is still pretty annoying. By using this pipe, we're able to bust through the fans and make our way through. As we continue further, we begin to hear the cries of a little girl, only to see that they were coming from none other than Ramona. But how is she still alive? Could it be that she inherited her mother's monstrous traits? Or could this be a hallucination created by the guilt Jack still feels? We'll just keep it in mind for now. Moving on, we're presented with the game's first puzzle, not counting the safe. A pool of harmful liquid is blocking our way through the pipes. The lever right beside lifts up a hatch, but clearly not the one we need. As I was looking for another way around, I accidentally moved one of these handles. Turning the one on the right and lifting the door gets rid of the liquid, but not the acid. Turning the left handle will release water to clean out the acid, and now all that's left is to open the hatch and drain the water. Right through the pipes is a large grate as the body of the junkie plops down. I think it's pretty clear that he was killed for giving us too much information. We find ourselves in the asylum once again, although this time the room is filled with flies. We snap back to reality only to see the junkie get taken away by a monster that lurks in the death. We make our quick escape only to be stopped at the sight of Ramona. Just like last time, she disappears. I think it's now safe to say that this is not the real Ramona, just the embodiment of Jack's guilt. After all, he is the reason she was killed in the first place. At the end of the sewers are 4 different holes, while enemies block our path above. We just have to lure them out to the last hole and close the door behind them. However, my brain took a little too long to process that last step. They just disappeared. I could have locked them in the door. I'm out of here, I'm out of here, I'm out of here, I'm out of here. Oh, well, that's where it came from. I don't know how a broken floor scared me, but regardless, we just have to pull this box away from the door and make our way into a strange house with an estranged owner. Rebecca informs us that Burnham is still in town. In fact, he's locked up in the local jailhouse, awaiting for his life to be of use to the order through sacrifice. What was it? Oh, Rebecca! I thought Rebecca got shot. Never mind. You really want to go out to where they are? Alright, Rebecca, you got some balls. Let's go. I'm already made a run for it. Let's go. Rebecca! No! I know her death should be sad and all, but I can't help but find it funny how she power walked the entire way despite getting shot at. Inside the church we have yet another puzzle. At least I think it's meant to be a puzzle. I really don't know. I just rang these bells randomly and the hatch on the other end opened. Underneath the church is a basement with strange writing all over the walls and another safe to open. I'll be honest, I just decided to look up the code thinking it was going to be another date like last time. Something I also kind of like and dislike at the same time is that the game doesn't allow you to enter a code until Jack canonically knows what it is. Mainly so you can't skip important plot points, I presume, which is pretty nice, but I don't like that it makes my job harder. This is the only puzzle I cheated, by the way, just need to make that clear. In the safe is a cross which we can place a little further down the room to open a secret path. Once down, we're able to follow the sounds of Ramona's laughter before getting another vision. We're again at the asylum, but this time we're able to walk down the halls. At the end stands a man, glaring at us. To me, the man looks like Jack, but then who would we be controlling? Before we're able to get a better look, he runs off and we snap back to our senses. Making our way out of the sewers leads us into a burned down city hall. Now we're introduced to a little bit of platforming. This gets really annoying. As mentioned earlier, standing near a ledge will cause this weird screen blur effect. Mix this in with the already blurry effects from the loss of sanity and you get an extremely annoying screen to look at. There is a syringe you can use which supposedly helps with sanity, but I actually never used it until the very end of the game as I thought I'd only get one use. It's actually infinite, just with a cooldown in between. Now we have to traverse the balconies and rooftops, which is where I found the world's first Call of Cthulhu speedrun technique. What the? Speedrun strat? Hello? Obviously, this was just a glitch that forced me to reload the level, but imagine if this let me trigger a cutscene. Once we make it through the doors, we have another run-in with Mackie. This time, he changes his story a bit. Instead of just being a factory inspector, he's actually there to make sure Jack doesn't ruin the government's ongoing investigation by saving some punk. Jack dismisses Mackie and continues towards the jailhouse, making sure not to alert the guards of his presence. Constable, don't even try to interfere this time. Hey, what's up, Constable? Making our way into the jail allows us to finally get some real weapons, a shotgun and pistol to be precise. I think now is a good time to mention that there were actually a multitude of weapons that were meant to be included, however they were obviously scrapped, though remnants still remain. There's a cleaver sitting back at the shop, though we aren't able to equip it, and the guns the enemies used were actually meant to be ours as well, though it really isn't that big of a difference compared to the shotgun we do get. Exploring down this alley gives us another vision of something hiding within the sewers, however we're unable to pursue it as the grate is too heavy to lift on our own. Making our way back to the cells, we find one completely empty, that Ramona's father had already taken his own life, a deranged man known as Henry, and Burnham just chilling. Giving Burnham Ruth's picture earns us his trust, and he tells us that the keys are lying in the upstairs room. I honestly thought there was some kind of puzzle here since these handles are interactable, but nope, the keys were just hanging beside the bed. Once we open Burnham's cell, we learn that in the garage sits a car we can use to escape. I also tried to be merciful by opening the other cells. That's the whole point, we're gonna use him as bait. We find that the empty cell was originally Obed's as his ship logs still lie there. This next part is really tedious due to Burnham's AI. You're meant to take him back to that grate from earlier, which shouldn't be difficult as it's literally right across the jailhouse. However, Burnham is always standing, meaning he's spotted way too easily. Once he gets caught, he doesn't even give you the chance to kill the guards. He just runs all the way to the opposite side of the map, making another attempt even more challenging. We do get a police whistle, but I couldn't figure out how to use it effectively. In retrospect, maybe I had to tell Burnham to wait as I distracted the guards and killed them or something, but I don't know. It took a while, but I was just barely able to get Burnham into the sewer and open the grate. Within the sewers, we're able to pick up a rotting rat corpse, which will come in handy in a second. We make our way out and into the garage, only to find that Mackie could have just opened the door for us, but instead waited until we found our way instead. Mackie now decides to spill the beans. He's an undercover agent for the US Treasury Department, sent here as the inside man for the investigation of Innsmouth. He tells us that agents are stationed not too far up the road. As long as we can reach them, we should be able to escape safely. Before we're able to drive away, however, Burnham has to fix the car's engine. While he's in the process of that, he sends us to retrieve Ruth's missing pendant. Using Obed's ship log from earlier, we learn of an important event, the War of 1812. No, I'm just kidding. It's written in the logs, but that's not the year to remember, much to my dismay. Hey Siri, when was the War of 1812? The actual code was 1846, which we can use to open the hidden safe within the jailhouse and retrieve the pendant. Returning the item to Burnham allows for us to finally make our escape. Whoa, shit! It would be nice if there was a little cover. That's right, baby. Oh, shit. Get down, Burnham, get down. Oh, wow, he has no fear. If this thing breaks down on us now, I'm gonna lose my shit. Ramona? Holy fuck. What? Sacrificed yourselves, pussy! Guys ain't got the balls to sacrifice? Holy fuck, why are there so many of them? I know this is a bit of a nitpick, but I don't like how every time Ramona suddenly appears, Jack doesn't even react to it. Not even internal dialogue, she just pops in and pops out. The only time Jack ever acknowledges her death is when your sanity is low to the point you start hearing voices. We're stopped in our tracks by a gate. Burnham sends us to find Ruth while he finds another way around. The great thing about having weapons is that I don't have to keep playing it safe anymore, except when they have whole ass machine guns. We get another vision, this time of a frantic lady standing very high off the ground. Before we learn who that lady is, I discovered another speedrun strat because I was given too much freedom. After clearing out the guards, we find that the lady is in fact Ruth Billingham. She asks for our help in saving her before the ground she's standing on collapses. This is actually the first alternative outcome in the game. In my playthrough, I was so lost that I ran out of time. However, if I were a little smarter, I would have actually been able to save her. Regardless, if you think this will have bigger implications later, you're dead wrong. If you keep her alive, she'll escape alongside you and Burnham. However, Burnham will get shot regardless of your outcome. You'll then get flung out out of the back while the car rolls over and explodes, killing Roof in the process. I applaud the game for having an alternative outcome for people like me, but I find it funny how it doesn't even matter. Anyways, we're saved by the agents and now find ourselves having dreams of Ramona's death while being taken through Azkaban. The ghostly apparition of Tom now watches as we slide by, showing that Jack now feels the added guilt of causing his death. We're strapped to a bed and injected with what I presume to be adrenaline. We then wake to Federal Agent Hoover dominating us. He questions our involvement in Innsmouth, but Jack doesn't cooperate, leading to an electrical shock. As Jack tries to answer Hoover's questions honestly, he again sees visions of Ramona. We learn that Hoover is looking to organize a full-scale raid on Innsmouth, however the government won't allow it due to insufficient evidence. Since Mackie turned up missing, Jack must take his place and accompany the agents on a small-scale raid of the Marsh refinery. Although Jack wants no part in this, he doesn't really have much of a choice. We pull up to the refinery as Hoover explains to us our mission: capture Jacob Marsh, the son of Sebastian Marsh, alive. Not much background of this family is given beforehand, at least not that I found, but they're basically high up in the order. Jack waits in the car while the agents engage in combat. We continue seeing visions of what appears to be an enemy approaching a sentry turret. The agent slides the door open, only to get riddled with bullets. Hoover has his men play bait while we sneak our way around to pop one in the sky and save the day. Interesting note, this machine gun was also meant to be one of our weapons. It wasn't cut, but clearly has no use to us. As we make our way into the refinery, we can see visions of an agent trying to escape from something via the elevator. However, upon opening the elevator, we can see that he wasn't really successful. Don't be fooled, Hoover. Someone! Yeah, I was gonna do the same thing. Now we're sent deeper into the refinery to reinitiate power. This is kind of where the game screwed me over in ways I wasn't expecting. I spent a good while trying to figure out how to get the generator working to no avail. At some point, I assumed I just had to parkour my way through, but that wasn't the case. It took a while for the synapses in my brain to click and realize I needed to grab a part from a different section of the refinery. Once I got the power working, I noticed that I could get on this little cart to make that jump from earlier. However, as you can see, the game didn't want to let me on. I thought that was because this wasn't the right path, but no, it was just another buggy ledge. I'm able to drop to the next location and somehow avoid a non-existent guard. Turning this valve allows for the path previously blocked by gas to open. Let's ignore this guy, he wasn't really integral to the story anyways. The sensitivity in this game is pretty annoying if you're a hardcore FPS gamer like me. Flick just a little too hard and your mouse movements will be set to Narnia. While making our way through the vent, we get a vision of a man being dragged along a conveyor belt to his doom. Once snapping back, we can see that the man was right above us. With no fear, we walk straight down the conveyor belt only to run into Jacob Marsh. He activates the machine and sends us towards the grinder. You're meant to jump on this floor piece right above to avoid death, but I initially didn't even see that and just dodged it normally. Obviously that broke the game and forced me to restart. Chasing down Marsh leads us to his office where we find a letter from his father. Upon reading the letter, we get confirmation that the family is a part of the order. A new name is also thrown into the mix, Robert Marsh. I'll just say here, since it was only mentioned in one throwaway line during my game, but Robert and Sebastian Marsh are brothers. Not really a huge deal, but it's important to keep in mind. Now that the power is back, we're able to take the elevator down to the foundry level. Whoa! Okay, best fight ever, and then just fucking crashes. Just in case there was another trapdoor situation, I made sure to sit just outside the room and let the enemies come to me. As we explore deeper, we find that Hoover's dumbass has been taken hostage by Marsh and is being slowly descended into a pit of molten lava. I'm shooting him, I can't fucking see. Where'd he go? Alright, fuck, I should have let you die, honestly. Oh my god, you fucking crybaby. God damn. Probably the most high stakes moment in the entire game. Since Marsh left behind his briefcase, Hoover now has enough evidence to sanction a full-scale raid and no longer cares if Marsh is taken dead or alive. We see another vision of something rising quickly from the deepest depths of the refinery. Just a little while later, whatever that was is getting closer until it's practically right behind us. We try escaping through this door only to be knocked out by Marsh. We wait to see that Gargaroff, not actually his name, has been summoned. What the fuck is that? I'm cooked. Fuck, is there any... Oh my god!
This must activate the vat pump.
Oh, that just moved it over to the other side. Once we've escaped, we find a fuse we can use to power up the electric trap and momentarily get rid of it.
Shut.
What? I'm assuming I'm supposed to close the door. Why is that the sound of a T-Rex from Jurassic Park? Oh, I'm out. No, I'm not. fuck, but I can't. Oh my god, I'm high. We try to escape via the elevator, but it quickly breaks down. Thanks to these conveniently placed boxes, we're able to make our way out and speak to Hoover. We tell him to evacuate because, obviously, but he instead insists on going back down there, this time with a key they retrieved from Marsh. Right above the broken elevator shaft, we're able to open this hatch and climb down the rope. I'm about to pass out, Hoover. Could have at least supplied me with a At the bottom is a secret gold vault. Only the doors to Vault A can be opened, as the rest are either broken or covered in acid. Our goal is to turn all 4 valves in Vault A, however only the first valve has a wheel, which is why we need to avoid Gargaroth and explore deeper to find a wrench. Now that we've turned all 4 valves, we can head back to Vault C. Attempting to open it this time will cause an explosion. Within this vault, we stumble upon a strange Cthulhu shrine with a gem in the middle of the room. Pressing the button on this pillar causes the statue to shoot a red laser at the gem, which in turn is reflected. We just have to move the pedestal into a position where the light reflects to the other side. We're able to pick up the gem as the agents finally find us. We all run out and watch as the refinery gets flattened. Now we're at the full scale rate of Innsmouth. I don't know if you've realized, but everything to this point has happened within the span of just 3 days. It sure as hell felt like a lifetime to me. As we descend the ice caps, we can see the enemies getting closer. If you think your team is gonna come in handy, you are sorely mistaken. They all die almost immediately. It's also kind of funny how the walkable ice is clearly a different shade than the ones that break, and yet I kept falling into the lake over and over again. Past the ice caps, we get visions of a monster making his way through a tunnel. We find Private Parker and help him melt the ice cap covering the door to that tunnel. Well, it's not really a good idea that we open this, but... No! Private Parker! Private, no! Private! Leave him alone. Okay, I don't think bullets are doing anything to it. Trying to lure it out here to use a flamethrower on it. A little more, a little more, a little more. No, no! Oh, fuck yeah, baby! And there's Private.
Looks like I'm on my own again. A hefty chunk of dynamite.
Inside is a jail cell that our good old pal Mackie has found himself in. In order to break him out, we need to find the keys. Not these keys, these are for the house right above us. Further down the tunnel is a doorway blocked by a bunch of blood-sucking starfish. By using the dynamite on these barrels, we cause an explosion so strong it clears the way. Up these stairs is the Marsh home, if I'm not mistaken. I could have taken the sneaky approach, but what's the point when I have a rifle? This office space holds a rusty key which we can use to open the door towards the second floor. On the second floor, there is a little sniper tower we can use to clear the enemies to make our job a little easier later on. There's also this strange archway that we are unable to interact with since we don't know its purpose. Past this door, we begin to hear the cries of a little girl. Another hallucination of Ramona. Just as fast as she appeared, she's gone. The diary of Robert Marsh we picked up in the room prior contains the year 1878, which is a combination to the safe below. The safe contains Maggie's pistol, a scroll, and a manuscript to help us translate the ancient text and recite a prayer. Using that same prayer, we're able to release whatever spell was keeping these doors shut. In this room lies a stone disc that covers the ongoing ceremony, while the keys to the cell lie on the pedestal. After freeing Mackie, we need to take him to the mini sniper tower and have him lift the stone disc so that we can make our way down. I'm here to fuck some shit up, baby. Holy shit. It's he who remains. Holy fuck, what am I supposed to do here? Whoa, oh, ah! Let me load back, because what the fuck? You can just shoot them?
That must have been Robert Marsh leading the ceremony.
That was Robert Marsh? Trading your body just to not have bulletproof skin was a big blunder. Now we have to solve another puzzle, which was and still is so confusing to me that I'm surprised I was even able to figure it out. Wait, so is it in order? How do I know which one's first? Oh, I see. Ooh, okay, you're huge. Okay, let me... fuck, I'd have to draw this out or something. So that's the order. Okay, I drew it out. Let's try this. So circle, rectangle, circle again, triangle, circle, triangle. Oh, that worked! Yes, I'm a genius! As we chase after Marsh, the floor underneath cracks and causes us to fall into the depths of the freezing water. We're thankfully saved by a nearby boat crew and are now in the worst level of the entire game for 3 reasons. 2 were the game's fault and 1 was entirely my own. The captain explains that we're on our way towards Devil's Reef as the submarine in patrol of those waters have been lost. They have reason to believe that the reef holds some kind of stronghold or underwater city. I'm pretty sure the skybox outside is also incorrect, and you can see the water cuts off not too far forward. Just a bit of graphical glitches I noticed. As we speak to Henson, we immediately get visions of something lurking right underneath the ship. Our suspicions are confirmed when a crew member is dragged off the ship as these fish people things, I'm pretty sure they're called deep ones, make their way on board. After defending the ship momentarily, Henson will have us run to grab a medkit, which is where we find that the Deepers have already made their way on board. I'm just calling them Deepers from now, I don't care if that name isn't canonically correct. After defending the ship a little longer, they will all retreat as they are no longer needed. What the fuck is incoming?
Everyone, take cover!
Fuck! It's a storm! Holy shit! We're cooked, boys! Oh fuck, oh fuck, mayday, fuck me. This entire section has one major problem. Officer Winter informs us that the waves are rising due to witchcraft on the island. What's meant to happen is 3 blue lights will appear on the reef, which we will have to shoot with the cannon. However, as you can see, the lights in my game were invisible. This is apparently an extremely common occurrence that almost every player faces at this point when not using fan patches. Thankfully, I was still able to complete this section by using some blind lineups provided by Mahesh Kannan. Thank you for your contribution to society. It was still really annoying though, since the cannon's camera controls are horrid. The slightest mouse movements can sometimes cause the biggest jumps. Now we have to find a captain as he has the key to the armory. However, he's locked himself in his quarters out of fear. In order to make it to his quarters, we need to run around the entire ship as the mess hall has mysteriously been sealed shut.
No one got
No one got her. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Turning the valve shuts off the gas and lets us pass through the boiler room and to the captain's quarters. We can hear him recite a prayer, ignoring our cries for help and ultimately taking his own life. Feels like he's praying into my ear. Oh, I expected as much. Winters! Good. Thought he died. The others stay back as I break into the captain's quarters through the vents. However, as we progress through the vents, we can see that something is approaching the two upstairs. I think we know what happens next. After taking the keys to the armory, we're finally able to use a Tommy gun and grab some dynamite to blow up this fan. Past these vents is a crowbar and an open door to the mess hall. This is where we find that the mess hall was sealed shut by some damn cowardly engineer who forces us to do his job for him. Now, I want to teach you all an important lesson in the art of creating saves. We're giving keys to the cargo hold, but the boiler room is blocked off by some gas. We'll need to turn this valve at the bottom to safely pass through. However, this valve doesn't just shut off the gas, it causes the boiler to overheat, which is why we're meant to also close this door. I did not notice at the time. If you don't close the door, the entire ship explodes. I like to create saves pretty much randomly throughout my games in order to put myself back in case I make a mistake. However, I only use one single save file as I don't really feel like choosing from a list. This came to bite me in the ass as I created my save literally right before the explosion went off, meaning that every time I loaded that save, the game would immediately end. The only other save I could use was all the way back at the second level of the game, and I didn't really feel like starting from there again. Now, I had a stroke of genius. What if I replaced my manual save data file with the file for my autosave, which would have at least taken me back to the start of the ship? Can you guess what happened? That's right, all my saves were corrupted. So now you may ask, did he really start an entirely brand new game almost 7 hours in? And my answer to that is no. I had a much better idea. I was going to cheat. Let me explain before you guys throw me to the wolves. The same tool for the fan patches also allows for cheats to be enabled. Even though cheats aren't able to be activated for the Steam version of Call of Cthulhu due to protection and whatnot, I use my expert hacking skills to remove all protection from the game's exe file. I'm basically admitting to a crime here, all for the sake of playing an almost 20-year-old Cthulhu game. These cheats allowed me to load the beginning of the ship level, with the only downside being that I lost all of my collectibles. I decided to just use the cheats to finish the level in case I break anything else. Down at the cargo hold, I'm able to find a welding kit, which I can use to fix a broken pipe in the boiler room. Now we're able to turn the valves and get the ship started again. We give the welding kit to the cowards and make our way back outside. As we approach the cannon, we get another vision of something approaching. We can even see this asshole sealed us off. Honestly, that was just karma. Your ass welded me out. Holy shit! Oh, cannon, 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 please, cannon, no! Cannon! Oh, the fuck was that? Oh shit! It's actually a good thing I continued using cheats here because the only way to damage the boss is via the cannon. However, for some reason, it never turns far right or left, let alone fast enough to shoot the boss. Meaning the only way to damage him is if he pops out in front, which he only does once every year or so. I'm exaggerating, yeah, but he literally takes ages just to pop out in front once. I have no idea if it was meant to be this way or if the game was glitched, but I really just didn't care anymore. I know, I'm sorry for cheating on the boss fight, but I just wanted this level to be over with already. We get thrown into the sea but wake up in a strange room. We pass through the door and flip through pages of a book, the contents of which seem to be about the war between the Yithians and the Polyps. Putting context clues together, we can determine that we're in the Great Library located within Nakotas. We also learn here that the Polyps could only be defeated with a specially made energy weapon. Once the Yithians won the war, the Polyps were sealed deep within the catacombs to prevent any further altercations. We get more glimpses of the catacombs before waking up at Devil's Reef. Just to clear my name, right as the cutscene ended, I immediately went to completely turn off all cheats and patches. As we explore the reef, we're instantly shown a warning that there are threats nearby, both in the form of traps and deepers. Now we're given a choice between two paths. The right path leads us to what is supposedly an altar used for sacrifice. We're able to pick up this and take it down the left path. Through the left path is a small cave with a pulley lying near the shackles. We can place the disc in this empty spot to reveal a hidden room. We take the lever and get out of here. After a bit of platforming, we're able to place and pull the lever, which prevents us from making contact with these plates that would normally kill us. Further down is a broken bridge. We're able to use the pulley here to zipline down the remaining rope and into this cave. After using the manuscript to read the ancient text, we can place Ruth's pendant onto this button, which starts a timer. Parts of the map will spring up, revealing a path guiding us to the end. At the end of the maze lies another pedestal we can place the red gem on to open the door. Down this hall is a large hole with gusts of air protruding out of it. We take the plunge and are now at the final level of the game, the air-filled tunnels. As we continue to fall, we find ourselves back at the asylum. We're able to make it to the end of the hall this time, but the man walks into the void and leaves us alone. Tentacles start to appear just outside the bars, but before we can investigate further, we wake up. As we continue down, we look out the window to see that the underwater city is being protected by a barrier. We then stumble upon Sebastian Marsh as he appears from a portal. He asks about Robert's whereabouts, to which he learns that he's leading the others in a prayer with Mother. He demands to speak with him since prayers are completely nonsensical at the same time as a raid. Marsh heads to his lab and we're now forced to sneak around. As if I just went in guns blazing again. We can see that the teleporter is the same archway we saw back at the Marsh house. Translating the text on this pillar informs us that the gateway can only be activated by uttering an ancient chant with a sacred charm. I don't want to go through that. Actually, don't. Fuck it, why not? The save states will save me. Oh. Oh, fuck me. Oh, hey dude. We're now trapped in a cell, but for some reason the guards left a perfectly good chisel in here we can use to lift the grate below us. After watching the inmate get bitch slapped, we're able to sneak out, hopefully without alerting the guards since we're unarmed. Guys, right, I'm out of here, baby. Fuck! Oh, I just barely got out. I thought that was a boat. Ah! Yeah, I thought that was gonna happen. Taking the right path up past the campfire leads us to a door that is currently locked. The left path takes us to a guarded doorway, though the guards are even more blind than me. Down here lies a strange blue plant we can pick up and save for later. Further down is another save point and a green crystal gem, though we're unable to pull it out due to our lack of tools. Even further is a large waterfall. Nearby is a blood-sucking starfish infested tunnel and a path towards a ceiling window. We can take a peek at the argument underneath between the Marsh brothers.
How do you think you're doing, Robert? What are singing hens? You're a fool, Sebastian. I command the Order of Dagon, not you. I've shut the lab down, Sebastian. What? This is madness! Can't you see how far Hester's come? Your trivial experiments are of no concern to me. The work of my great-grandfather must be finished. Take your worthless body back to shore. You are of no further use to the Order. That's not going to happen, Robert.
Oh! The motherfucker really tried using bullet against a magician over here. That little swipe, that felt like a Neil Breen swipe. Watcha! 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 Ow, fuck. Yes, get out of here, bitch. Oh, the game crashed. I do like that we only won because Robert was hurt. I don't think there was any other logical way a detective could have beat a literal magician without guns. Now that he's dead, we can grab the key and manuscript in the briefcase and head towards the lab, though not before grabbing the rifle outside the office. We now know the locked door we saw earlier was the lab. Inside is a note that explains how the blue plant we found is actually very harmful to these creatures. Right beside the note is a weed killer, and a little further down is a suffering tainted. He begs to be killed, but before we fulfill his wishes, we ask about an entrance to the temple. He tells us that there's an alternate passageway deep beneath the temple. However, in those trenches lie an ancient dweller from a forgotten time. Right underneath the lab is the jail cell. We can grab the bowl of food on the table and take it to this cell with a feeding tube, making sure to also throw in the blue plant. The monster inside will unknowingly eat the food and perish. Now we can safely enter and pick up the hammer. Using this hammer and the chisel, we're able to pick up the green crystal from earlier. Above the lab is a room overgrown with weed. Using the weed killer, we're able to clear a path and safely climb the vines to a similar room we saw all the way at the beginning. Pulling out the same technique from then, we're able to activate and go through the portal, leading us to a secret cave with the energy weapon lying on the ground. The great thing about this weapon is that it has infinite ammo and one taps the tainted while easily killing the deepers. Now we have to take the weapon to the star-filled tunnel and use it to clear the way. Past this tunnel is a large broken seal, the same seal we learned the polyps are being kept under. Why is everything shaking? They're trying to take me into the light. Holy fuck, what is that? What the fuck is that thing? Oh my god, this stupid fucking... Chappelle. What? I think that one's dead. It took me a while to figure out this fight, but the goal here is to avoid being pulled into the abyss while hitting each polyp with a fully charged shot. It's best to hide from one while focusing on the other, as it just makes everything a lot easier. I'm going to be honest, this was the best fight in the game. I wasn't helpless, I wasn't forced to wait a century to attack, I had a strong weapon I could freely use. It was just perfect. Once the fight's over, we're able to climb out of the other side and make our way into the temple. Using the book on this tablet helps Jack fully understand the language and recite the ancient chant. Past the entrance is a gong, and right above is Mother Hydra. We can see that she not only possesses the sacred charm, but she's also protected by the same barrier protecting the city. Right behind the statue above us is a small dragon head that acts as a switch. Once flipped, water begins to travel and create a pool connected to Mother. Water that can be used to electrify her to death if we only had more. I cannot lie, I had to use a walkthrough for this section, as the only hint I was given is that a large enough blast causes the gong to emit a deafening sound. What we're meant to do is use a fully charged shot right up on the gong to burst our eardrum. Before we regain our hearing, we have to sit in the small puddle we created, which will then allow us to take control of a deeper. We can then use their leaping capabilities to reach and flip the remaining 4 switches. Now that the puddle is large enough, we can kill Mother Hydra, disable the barrier, and pick up the charm. Casting the ancient chant with the charm in hand opens the door, allowing for us to make our escape. However, considering the fact that we just disabled the barrier, we have to hurry as the submarine hasn't stopped bombing the city. After passing through the gateway, we find ourselves at the Marsh estate. As Mackie and Hoover try to help, we completely pass out and wake up in the same strange room as before. The door opens and we find ourselves at the center of Nakotis. We look down only to see that we now have tentacles for arms. The great race of Yif calls to us, needing to discuss an important matter. We're taken to the Great Library and are told that many of the Yif have transferred their minds to host in the future to avoid conflicts between the Yithians and the Polyps. We now have to be sent back to our time, but not before having our memory cleansed of Nakotis, as the human mind is too delicate to handle all this information. Jack is understandably upset at having to toss away 6 years of his life, but he is told that he will remember once the time is right. They then explain that his visions were no coincidence. There's just no way for them to be as accurate as they were. Even Jack's father could see them. In fact, his own father found himself in the same place Jack is standing on. However, he couldn't handle the burden and resorted to suicide, with his transferred mind being that of the Yif Jack is speaking to. Jack runs out of time and reawakens at the asylum once again. We can see that he's gone deranged upon learning this information, coupled with the guilt of Ramona. The doctor goes to check on him, only to find that Jack, much like his father, is attempting to escape from his truth. The book falls on the same passage we've seen before, Only this time, we understand what he means by, "I now walk in the shadows between worlds," and it is there where I have finally glimpsed upon what lives in the dark corners of the earth. The doctors try to save Jack, however to no success. Jack passes away, only leaving his suicide note to explain himself, and the game comes to an end. In case my explanation was a little confusing, let me give you a quick rundown of the game's story to my understanding. First, the Gif are beings that are able to transfer their minds throughout space and time, which was how they found their way onto Earth. However, when they arrived here, they found themselves in conflict with the flying polyps, damn near Earth's ruler. They succeeded in sealing the polyps away, though that wasn't enough. Right before Jack was conceived, his father had gone through the same scenario we just witnessed, presumably also given the task to defeat the polyp on their behalf. However, his mind wasn't able to handle all of this information and proceeded to off himself to avoid responsibility. That transferred mind was of the Yif that Jack spoke to. Although he is not fully Jack's biological father, he is still technically his father, I guess. He needed Jack to get to this same point, which is why he commanded the cult from the beginning to lead him to the basement. This could also explain why many of the members had killed themselves, believing they could also have their minds transferred to that of a Yif, either that or as a sacrifice. Regardless, Jack was lured down to the basement and by powering the machine, found himself summoned to Nakotas. We can assume he spent those last 6 years learning everything he needed to know. Once it was time for him to head back, they took the moment to erase most of his memory of this information to avoid having him off himself too early. Jack is sent back to his body just 5 months prior to the call about Burnham, setting the entire story in motion. This is why Jack was seemingly able to see multiple visions in the perspective of others, both past, present, and future. Jack isn't fully human, nor is he fully Yif. He's kind of like a half-blood prince. There's my daily Harry Potter reference. He has the ability to transfer his mind throughout space and time, though he was doing it unknowingly. This may also give an explanation to the sanity meter. He wasn't just going insane because he was scared, he was going insane as his mind began to slowly remember what had already been erased. Once he completed his mission and side quest, all the information promptly came back to him, presumably due to the sacred charm, the chant, and piecing together all the knowledge he has gathered. Just like the Yif mentioned, his human mind wasn't able to handle all of that information. It didn't help that he also felt the guilt from indirectly causing Ramona and Tom Waite's death, leading to him going deranged and taking his own life. However, my explanation still kind of leaves a bit of questions. What were those flashbacks to the asylum? I understand he spent a couple of those 5 months in the asylum, but he states he was already back to normal. The only explanation I have is that those asylum visions were either the Yithian's way of communicating or any memories he might see of his father. Either that or these are just remnants of another storyline that never made its way into the final game. I may be wrong though. This is just a conclusion I've been able to come to after piecing together everything I learned from 11 hours of gameplay. If anyone knows more or wants to correct me, feel free to leave it in the comments. Either way, if I had to rate this game, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. There were a couple of gameplay mechanics I really didn't like, with the most annoying being sanity. The gameplay itself can be seen as boring for many gamers out there, like me for the first 2 hours or so. There are a good amount of bugs, with some of them making it near impossible to play this game smoothly, and I would have liked for my hand to be held just a little bit since I am a bit dumb. The biggest problem though is the fact that an extended ending cutscene is locked behind a 100% playthrough of the hardest difficulty. This is a problem as the original cutscene omits very important details I think we should know. However, that still wasn't enough to deter me. Although it was a challenge, I was still able to get through the game in its original broken state. The main thing I liked about this game was its story. I am a sucker for Cthulhu, not the original Lovecraft tale. I've actually never read it. I just think the character's badass. Although the stories seem to be more focused on the Yif, they are still technically distinct cousins, I think. I'm actually not sure. I never even heard of the Yifs or polyps before playing this game. Before we end this video, we should quickly touch on what happens from here. What are Headfirst Productions' plans moving forward with this universe? Unfortunately, there are no plans. The studio was hemorrhaging so much money developing this game that many of the developers stopped being paid. They still stuck around though, hoping that the game would be a massive success and it would all be worth it in the end. However, the Xbox release only sold about 5,000 units. The game's development took so long that it wasn't really all that unique by the time of its release. The PC version miraculously came out a year later, but as you can see, it was shipped in a less than favorable state. There were plans of a sequel titled Call of Cthulhu: A Destiny's End, with some of the team sticking around to continue development. However, by the time of the PC release, the company went completely 6 feet under, and that puts an end to the story of Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth and Headfirst Productions. Most of the original developers are probably still working in the industry today, though I think it's safe to say that another Call of Cthulhu will forever be a dream. I'm not counting this one. How dare they try to imitate a masterpiece. Bonk. Of course, I'm only joking. I know this video took a long ass time to make and it was also really long, but I just didn't want to rush through the story like I normally do in my videos. I'll do more of these longer videos centered around one game if people like them, but in reality it takes a lot to go through 11 hours of footage and write a script around it. I am tired. My next video isn't going to be gaming related because you'll see why. Thank you to every single one of my Pookie Club members and you, the viewer, for watching this long. If you like this video, feel free to check out my other videos. That's all for me, and ciao ciao.